At the moment that we choose to have a partner, I think that our partner, we choose it clearly because of an affinity, not only in the mental part, but that makes us end in the intellectual part. Our partner that we choose has to satisfy in multiple aspects of life. So not only in these aspects of life does it have to move us, but in the most passive ways. Our partner has to move us in multiple aspects. From the very fact of seeing her pass by, seeing her by our side, know that it is there is no such thing.
Verbal communication.
That it excites us, their way of thinking, their way of seeing, of generating us, even the way in which it generates problems for us, because that also generates an attraction of how we solve those problems that arise to us in the day-to-day, especially when they have that emotional roulette for the century they are in, understanding and many times giving in a lot, that we do not do it in a coordinated way. Let's put it that way. If not, that they help us with that too. And then understanding all this and coming to understand makes them also choose and choose which person will be there at the same time. As I have always said, I believe that all of us, by learning to choose and choose, can achieve this. A good relationship with your partner is knowing how to choose your partner, feeling attracted to your partner, which generates many emotions for you. Good, bad. But those bad ones are going to turn into good ones because you don't see anything wrong with these, that's right. And they often help you heal many things that you thought you didn't have. So, and all these emotions are due to the hormonal part that we have seen now. So unbalancing the hormonal part in women means lack of control. Why not? If we had and knew our partner, this hormonal imbalance is going to make us also confused, and we do not react very well to confusion.
I love what you said, Dave, because it's almost like we lose their they lose their identity for that we lose who they are as well as a woman. Autumn, what is your intake of what we were just talking? If you have anything.
Um, I think, yeah, I wish everything that David said, I totally agree with. I think that's what needs to be imparted on our brothers and sisters, our younger generation, like what it means to actually, what commitment means, what it means to pick a partner, to pick a spouse, right? Like, what are you looking for? What are your beliefs, right? Like, these are questions we need to ask ourselves. I listened to a quote the other day that I love. It's deep calls to deep, right? So we can't just live our lives in this shallow, like, surface area. We need to go into the depths. And so we need to, like, rack our brains with, what are we looking for in life? And for my women who are listening out there, embrace the mystery of your heart and your body. And if there are questions about your health that you cannot find an answer to, I encourage you to keep researching, because there are answers out there. We just have to dig a lot to find the answers, but they are out there and they are beyond the realms of birth control. And contraceptives are not answers to our bodily health, and like the needs of our bodies. Birth control is not an answer to endometriosis or PCOS. Believe me, there are other answers out there. And I think the more that we value our health and our well-being, like the more that we'll demand answers from, the doctors that are in charge of this. And we can make a change and it'll be really beautiful. And on the other coin of birth control, yes, picking a spouse is so important. So that way you can cultivate a beautiful family life. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's true what you're saying, Autumn. Like at the end of the day, we don't want to go against nature. And when you go against nature, we sometimes know that it leads to chaos, like David was saying, and at some point it would also could become destructive. in other ways. And you could see that pattern not only chemically in your body, but also on your behavior and the way you think, and also the anxiety, depression you get. So, last question for Autumn, since we're going to do women's health. Autumn, what will be the next topic you would like to choose? And thank you so much for being so open. Thank you for, knowing how to control there's so much testosterone, but you were in there, and you're such a critical part of what we do that you have no idea how much I embrace your leadership in the Ethics Guild podcast.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for dealing with my introverted self sometimes when I get nervous to answer some questions. I appreciate that. Appreciate the patience. Oh my gosh, the next topic, I have to think about it.
All right. Think about what the next topic is, but we are definitely going to have women's health at least once a month. I think women deserve that, and we will always have David with us, Kevin and Autumn, myself. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. It helps us a lot. Hit that like. This will be posted about in a month. So if you checked it live, that's the privilege you got to hear us talk about this topic that it could be very sensitive. But I just love how even if we have different opinions, different type of convictions, we were not here to judge on anyone's saying. As a matter of fact, we were so respectful to them that we piggyback on a positive way on how to interact with somebody else's conviction, even if they're not the same or they're slightly different. So I really value the fact that there's an environment of respect and professionalism here. And I want to leave David with the last word for today so he can close the show.
Well, I believe that we treat female reproductive health, and it is not only guided or governed by the use of birth control pills. There are also other methods in which we can have at hand that are not so invasive, so that do not unbalance your whole part. Many can say that these are not abortifacients, that they are not invasive, but we know that at the end of the day, we are generating an imbalance in women, a hormonal imbalance.
I ought to be on that side.
They consume all the medications, but there is also a part where I have to be self-critical and not everything. He has to go to take a pill. There are methods that can also help us solve certain health problems. There are others in which a medicine is necessary to generate well-being. But there are situations like these where you can pick and choose if you want to keep that contraceptive method, if you're liberal, if you're promiscuous, if you have in your head to satisfy yourself in a way. Carnal, let's put it that way. But I also invite you to think that that is not the way either, and that you have to take responsibility for your body and you can take care of it in a different way. And I believe that respecting your body means respecting yourself, respecting your temple. I don't want to direct it to a religious part, but you know your body and you can treat and not your body in an effective and natural way. Not everything has to be the consumption or consumerism of a medicine. I believe that we must also know how to respect the part of women, whether or not I want an oral contraceptive method. And there are methods in which we eat. These people's partners accept that, and with less invasive methods for them, because of the respect they have for their body, and we are condescending to that. For me, it would be easy to say we consume medications, but no, I think that's what this is about, because to look for a slightly more ethical, more logical and standardized meaning in that, there are other alternatives that our own body can generate. So I believe that this always leads us to reflect that if there is another way out, if there is another alternative, and we do not look for the easiest thing is not always the best. Therefore, when you have your partner, I think that sometimes it is difficult to find her, but when you find her, there is enormous satisfaction and there are no barriers too.
complexities.